So we're looking at part 13 of the essentials, essential oils, history and their use. So first of all, just a reminder that this is educational information and that the tools that we're given here are just additional things you can put in your wellness tool belt to help keep you well and or get you back well if that's the direction that needs to be moved. It's not medical advice. It shouldn't be construed that way. And you want to always conduct your own due diligence on any modality or treatment or suggestion that may come your way from any source. Make sure you do your own due diligence. And it's not exhaustively comprehensive. There may be some things that don't get touched on that could be important for you. So just keep that in mind. Today we're looking at the essential oil of juniper from Juniperus communis. It has a long history of use by both the Greeks and the Arabians. During the bubonic plague, people kept a few berries in their mouths for antiseptic and anti-infective purposes. So they just kind of kept those like a handful around, just kept popping them in their mouth. And they also used juniper tea. That's found to be used as a sterilizer for surgeons' tools. So they make a tea of the juniper berries, and it was antibiotic or anti-infective. And it was used medicinally as well as food. So it's not actually a berry. So if you look at it very carefully and take it apart in the way that you would another kind of a berry, it doesn't have the berry setup or organization. It's actually a small cone with layered fleshy petals or bracts. The essential oil is actually derived from the berry or the cone, and it's steam distilled. So that's the plant part that is utilized for the essential oil of the juniper. It has a number of different characteristics that have powerful properties. It's a detoxifier, functions as an immune booster. It's helpful for sore throats as a natural treatment and helps for respiratory infections. Helps to reduce fatigue and muscle aches, arthritis relief, helps to soothe skin flare-ups and relieve insomnia and improve digestion. So when I was making this presentation, I actually had a little bit of a sore throat that had popped up, and so I had remembered collecting some juniper berries when I was in Eastern Oregon visiting my parents some time ago, and I still had them. So I went out and grabbed a handful and began kind of just chewing on them periodically. That along with a throat compress and just some other things like eucalyptus inhalations of the eucalyptus essential oil seem to turn it right around. So just happy to have been reintroduced to the powers of the juniper plant here with the essential oil of juniper that is our topic tonight. So the safety is generally considered safe to use, neat, which means not mixed with anything else. You can just put the oil straight on your skin. However, if you do have sensitivities, sensitive skin, or very thin skin, you may choose to use a carrier oil just to be safe. As always, you want to try anything on a small space rather than just lathering up with it all over, just to test to make sure you're not allergic to something, whatever it is, before you go whole hog on it. So when you're using it topically, you just want to be careful with that. So the primary molecules that are used or the main constituents of the beneficial properties of juniper essential oil are alpha-pinene and saponine. So the alpha-pinene plus and the alpha-pinene minus, so there's two different actually variations of that molecule, and they have a different appearance when they're made, when they're outlined. And essentially, if you have a dotted triangular stem, they're on the same plane as the ring. Away from the line there that's coming out is the same plane as the ring. The dotted line is projecting away, so kind of giving a three-dimensional view to it. And the solid lines on the left side are actually going to be projecting towards the viewer. So when you're looking at a molecule, it can only be drawn in a two-dimensional space, but those conventional uses of the dotted triangles and the solid triangles show that the functional groups are either pointed towards the viewer or away from the viewer. Saponine is another molecule, the other molecule that has primary activity in the juniper plant and essential oil. So some specific uses of juniper are as a detoxifier, as a diuretic, as antiseptic, antispasmodic, which means it helps muscles to not contract unbidden by you. Functions as an astringent, which helps to draw tissue together. It's anti-rheumatic, which for someone with rheumatism, it's pain and arthritic kinds of feelings that kind of come and go in their joints and tissues. So it's anti-rheumatic. There's the carminative, which just is a fancy name for saying that it helps relieve intestinal gas, and it's anti-parasitic in nature. So it's nice to know that there are anti-parasitic options available in the natural world. We don't have to go running necessarily to any kind of a pharmaceutical to actually invoke, or not invoke, but to have any of these beneficial properties. So this juniper essential oil blends well with 3 other oils, and it may blend well with other oils too, but these are 3 predominant ones. Grapefruit oil, essential oil, talked about that in the past. Bergamot, so bergamot is the far right there. It's actually kind of a citrus, a lumpy citrus, a little bit like a lime, but it has different properties and chemical constituents associated with it. And cypress. And I found this interesting table here that there are some essential oils that actually function to help repel ants. So if you have an ant issue, you can use eucalyptus, peppermint, citrodora, lemongrass is a pretty common one, cinnamon, clove, tea tree, lemon, orange, and grapefruit. So there's kind of a collection of different ant repellents. And that doesn't really include the juniper essential oil, but has the grapefruit there, as well as I guess that's the only one that was on our blending list here, was the grapefruit oil. So just a little hint there on some other things and uses for other essential oils that you may find helpful. So some specific key uses for juniper essential oil. It's helpful for liver issues, and you can see the 2 trees there. One is out in the wild. The lower one is a wild variety of juniper. The other is a cultivar or cultivated one that has been trimmed. It looks like it's waiting for a trim there. So often they're used in landscaping. It's good landscaping hedge. They are kind of a little prickly depending on the variety you get, so that can be kind of protective barrier as a natural fence. So using it for liver issues, you would use it internally, use it in like a veggie cap, and it helps to support the cleansing of the liver. The liver is your detoxification organ of the body, and it's one of the larger organs of your body. And it actually has a capacity to change in size and regrow if it's damaged, has large portions that are not able to be utilized, that could be actually removed. And if there's still some liver tissue there, it could regenerate into a new liver. It helps to detoxify any medication or toxins that you may have, and so it will actually grow in size and change in its effectiveness over time. It becomes more efficient at detoxifying different toxins and poisons, and in that vein, it's what is the underlying basis for drug tolerance. So as you use a drug over a period of time, it requires more of that drug to actually have a pharmacological effect, because your body becomes more efficient at cleansing it out. So you do want to support your liver properly and not overuse it. And also I would probably recommend steering away from eating liver in any organism, because liver is the detox organ of those organisms, including us. So detoxification in general, you can use it internally again in a capsule form. And for things like acne or psoriasis, which are skin issues, one is a issue that is derived from overactive sweat glands and pores that get clogged, that can cause infection and pimples. Psoriasis is more of actually an autoimmune or a leaky gut kind of presentation, skin irritation that can be very itchy and flaky. Can be used topically. Use a carrier oil to dilute it and apply it to the affected areas. It's helpful for maintaining urinary tract health, and helps with people who have issues with water retention. So topically, you can combine it with grapefruit for topical use. Internally, so you can use it with grapefruit to help promote urination or diuresis. For epidemics and plagues, we mentioned that earlier with bubonic plague in its early history of use. You can use it topically along the spine and also to the bottoms of the feet. So the nice thing about through the skin, especially bottoms of the feet, you can use that through the bottom of the feet. It doesn't go through the liver. Doesn't go through the liver first. It goes directly into the circulatory system and then can affect the tissues immediately. Cholesterol support and support of blood sugar. Internally, you can use it in a capsule and manage it that way. The cholesterol is shown over here on the right. One of the issues with cholesterol is that when you particularly have damaged cholesterol, oxidized cholesterol, it tends to cling to and attempt to mitigate inflamed blood vessels as well. And it can eventually clog up and occlude blood vessels, which can lead to things like heart attacks and elevated blood pressure because you've reduced the blood vessel size. So the cholesterol molecule in itself, we have cholesterol in all of our cell membranes. It's what helps keep them fluid when they're cold and just maintains membrane fluidity. That's a good thing. But when cholesterol has been oxidized, that is exposed to oxygen and damaged through heat, for example, it becomes toxic. And pretty much the only way you would get unoxidized cholesterol was if you poked a hole in an egg and sucked the contents out with a straw with no oxygen activity. Typically, things that have cholesterol in them, like milk, has been aerated, so lots of exposure to oxygen. Powdered milk especially is the worst, along with aged cheeses like Parmesan, because it's flaky and small. Lots of exposure to oxygen, so it becomes oxidized. So with that, the juniper berry can have some assistance with that and help to manage it. But the best thing for cholesterol is just to stay away from external sources of it, because our body makes all we need in our liver. Just keep that liver healthy. Stress and tension. So it can help with reductions in stress and tension. So aromatically, diffuse it. You can drop it in the palms of your hands and inhale it from your hands, cupped over your nose, or you can also just use it simply in a diffuser. Topically, you can just put it under your nose or apply it to the soles of your feet to help relieve various stresses and tensions. Some additional things helps to reduce stretch marks and other types of skin conditions. Particularly those that are hormonally influenced may benefit those in particular. You can use 1 to 2 drops that can use in a face or a body wash kind of application. Just add it to your body wash, or 2 to 3 drops in a carrier oil and just apply to where you have areas of issue, stretch marks or wrinkle marks, worry marks, things like that. You can use it as a digestive aid and again as a liver cleanser. The way to do that would just drop a few drops in a smoothie. So there's a nice looking berry smoothie over there on the right, or in a glass of drinking water. It's a good way to get that internally. It helps to reduce insomnia. You can use it aromatically, again diffused. Just do that 5 drops prior to going to bed. You can do that with a diffuser, or you can just put 5 drops on your hand and do the cupping over your nose and inhale it through your nose or your mouth or both, just out of your cupped hand. Topically, you can put 1 to 3 drops on your neck, on the back of the neck, chest and feet, and that helps to reduce the lack of sleep or restless sleep. As a household cleaner, it's a natural antiseptic. So 5 drops just dropped into a washing machine versus detergent can function as a natural cleanser. I'm not sure how well it would work. Haven't tried it as a washing aid myself yet, but that would be quite a savings, I would think, using that in place of detergent, completely in place of detergent. Something to test, something to think about. Sore muscles, you can use it topically as a massage or add it to a bath with lavender oil and Epsom salts, so that can help with sore muscles. So this could be helpful for athletes, people who are pushing their bodies to the limit to improve their performance and just recover more quickly from that activity. And it could also be helpful for people who are working in the garden excessively or other activities that their body isn't accustomed to, where there is some muscle soreness that ensues. So some research perspectives on Juniper essential oil from Juniperus communis. The first one here is the antibacterial, antifungal activity of juniper berry oil and its selected components from Filipowitz et al. From Phytotherapy Reserves in March of 2003. Has antibacterial and antifungal activity. And that's good. So it kind of functions a little bit like the oil of oregano in an antifungal capacity, which is good to know that there's multiple things that can be used in that regard. Also, Yang et al. In the Journal of Dairy Science noted the effects of garlic and juniper berry, interestingly enough, on the fermentation in ruminant animals on the site and extent of digestion in lactating cows. So how does that translate to humans? Well, it may help digestion in them, or it may just be helpful if you have animals on your homestead that could help them with their digestive processes. Also, they tested it as a fumigant for toxicity of plant essential oils against a particular midge. So the gall midge is the picture up on the top. It's a kind of a destructive insect that lays its young in various foodstuffs, and it's in the insect class called Diptera Ceratomidae. And Kim et al. In the Journal of Economic Entomology found that it was effective against the Camptomia corticalis, which is the gall midge. Another place that it was found to be beneficial in the Active Pharmaceutica 2005 by Pepajek, the antimicrobial activity of juniper berry essential oil. And so it's looking at its effect against bacteria and other types of pathogens. Juniperus communis. And then antioxidant activities of volatile constituents of various essential oils. So they looked at a broad spectrum, and among them was the juniper essential oil. And remember that an antioxidant is something that is able to donate electrons to oxygen and diffuse its free radicals. So oxygen free radical is one that has an unsatisfied exterior shell and is highly reactive, and it's going to go and grab that electron from whatever it comes in contact with. And if we have an antioxidant present, it is more readily available than from other tissues and won't end up damaging other critical tissues that over time can result in disease and disability through cellular oxidation. In November of 2021, Heibel et al. Actually did some work with insects, bees, evaluating the efficacy of 30 different essential oils against Varroa destructor and honeybee workers. So the Varroa destructor is a mite that lives between the scales of a bee's abdomen. So they're very, very tiny, but they can become quite prolific and provide or create a burden that can reduce their ability to fight off disease, and it can be very destructive. So bees going into a winter season that are immunocompromised by an extra parasitic load have a less probability of making it through the season. So this is a natural way that can be approached by using juniper berry essential oil, and there is a list of other ones there in addition to that.
To be aware of new videos like this one, be sure to subscribe to the Preparing for the Time of Trouble channel. For more free videos and downloadable audio podcasts, as well as handouts, go to www.preparingforthetimeoftrouble.com. Topic categories include recordings of live seminar presentations, country living, sustainable gardening, homestead remedies, how to be self-sufficient when the grid goes down, wild edible and medicinal plants, hydrotherapy, and end-time Bible prophecies. To take advantage of these free resources, go to preparingforthetimeoftrouble.com.